Hello everyone, this is Deinocheirus from Prehistoric Facts, and this is a Q&A episode, so let's actually get started, shall we? So, Nicholas, you got some couple of questions for me. Your first one, how strong is the bite force of Deinosuchus compared to large T-Rexes like Sue and Scotty? So Deinosuchus is a crocodiliform that is in part of the alligatorid family because it actually looks very similar to alligators and caimans, those types of crocodilians. But is not a technically true crocodilian, even though that does have like a lot of crocodilian features. The sprawling legs and like big body and like really long skull and all that, and very cone-shaped teeth. Like it has it all. And so Deinosuchus bite force, lowest end of Deinosuchus's bite force is 4,000 psi, and its highest is over 23,000 psi. Whereas T-Rex, an adult T-Rex, is between 8,000 psi to 13,000 psi. And so you're looking at like a huge difference right there. Even though that the lowest estimate for a Deinosuchus bite force for psi like 4,000, like respectable, but that it's just like that's more likely on the realm of that. Like it might be like say if the Deinosuchus was actually a very similar in size to like say a saltwater crocodile, and so that's one of the reasons why for the low estimate. But with how large that skull is, you are probably thinking like this thing's got an incredible bite force, which it does. So Deinosuchus and probably Prusaurus as well were probably had the highest psi amongst semi-aquatic animals in Earth's history. T-Rex has the land animal category, but in terms of aquatic, it's Megalodon. Megalodon has the highest bite force of any animal that has existed in Earth's history, over 50,000 psi. So Deinosuchus highest is over 23,000, and even it could go as high as 30,000 psi. And Tyrannosaurus Rex, it's 13,000 psi. Now, could T-Rex actually have a higher bite force? Maybe 15,000 pounds, maybe 50 psi, 15 psi. So 15, comma 3 zeros. So that's what the highest it could possibly go, but like that's a rough estimate. But in terms of like what it's been calculated so far, Tyrannosaurus Rex is really close to 13,000 psi. Deinosuchus is over 23,000 psi. Megalodon is over 50,000 psi. And so that's what you get for the bite forces of these animals. And so Deinosuchus would definitely be right in there. So probably would have the second or third highest bite force in Earth's history. And then your second question: have you ever read the book of the Lost World? Are you talking about the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle uh, book, or are you talking about like Michael Crichton's Lost World Jurassic Park novel? If you're talking about Michael Crichton's Lost World Jurassic Park novel, yes, I have read that one. But if you're talking about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Lost World, I read it a long time ago, probably when I was in seventh grade, but I don't fully remember like everything from what I've read out of that book, because like I do know that like it's like the typical like story that we all know is that like you got some adventurers that go to this like plateau where time has stood still, and then they find out is that like it's not just like these basic animals that they're actually um like going to encounter, like like say big cats and like canines or wolves and other and like big snakes and all that sorts of stuff. They find out that there's really large reptiles there, and these reptiles were dinosaurs. And so yeah, that's what they actually get to see. But the thing was is that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, like he wrote this book like many years ago before like like the concept of like what kind of large predatory meat eating dinosaurs were around at that point in time, because I'm pretty sure that like because the reason why he wrote that book was because he found some footprints that were near his property, and so he actually was like, "Oh, there must have been really large, like animals that used to exist here, but they're no longer here." I mean, it's one of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's like best sci-fi novels. But even though Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is mostly known for writing the Sherlock Holmes books, because that's what he's most known for. But yeah, Lost World is one of his better, very like iconic pieces that people kind of starting to forget about. Is that like, yeah, he had the Sherlock Holmes books, but the thing is that he can write other types of stuff, and I think that's why when he dipped his toe into like the sci-fi realm, that was actually like the sci-fi adventure realm. That was actually like completely different from what his other stuff was, and so it's like because like the Sherlock Holmes books were mostly about like mystery, thriller, crime solving type of novels. But then you get to Lost World, it's more of a sci-fi fantasy adventure type of story, and it's like really spectacular. And like I don't remember a whole lot about the book, but yeah, but with Michael Crichton's Lost World Jurassic Park, yeah, I've read that book. I have read that book. I mean, I have the Barnes and Noble collectors book. It has the original Jurassic Park novel in it, along with the Lost World Jurassic Park in there. So it's like combining both stories. So that was a pretty good find by me. I mean, I bought that book many, many, many years ago. But yeah, like yeah, I've read both books. So yep, I know about those books. So Benjamin, your questions. Why are Abelisaurs considered to be primitive large theropods? It's mostly due to their heritage, and so the types of so their distant cousins were actually or distant relatives were the ceratosaurs. And when you look at ceratosaurs, they're also part of the primitive theropod lineage. So like one of the things is that their skeletal structure is not as strong compared to like say allosaurs, carcharodontosaurs, and tyrannosaurs, and even spinosaurs. And so you actually see that in their skeletal structure, and then you also see in terms of the hands. Ceratosaurs have four fingers on their hands instead of three, like other typical theropods, and Tyrannosaurs mostly had two um, fingers in their hands, mainly the large Tyrannosaurs. And so Abelisaurs have four or even five fingers in their hands, even though that their hands are very stubby and their arms are very short compared to Tyrannosaur arms. And we all know that. But yeah, the reason why is just basically due to their heritage. They're part of like that primitive theropod family, and so that's why they actually have those features because they're not really advanced dinosaurs compared to like say Tyrannosaurs and some of the Allosaurs, Carcharodontosaurs. Spinosaurs are advanced too. It's just that they're part of the Megalosaurid family lineage. So whereas the Abelisaurs are part of the Ceratosaurid family like lineage. So like when the Ceratosaurs pretty much died out, that's when the Abelisaurs actually kind of branched off of them, and like they had much shorter skulls and like much more puny arms compared to like Tyrannosaurs. And then yeah, and so like because see when you look at Abelisaur arms, like they're like really really weak compared to Tyrannosaurs. Like Tyrannosaur arms look like Arnold Schwarzenegger arms compared to Abelisaur arms. And so yeah, so to answer your question is mainly due to the fact is that they're related to Ceratosaurs. And so Ceratosaurs are a primitive theropod lineage, so are Abelisaurs. And then your second question: why are the claws of Deinocheirus more robust than Therizinosaurus? It's more likely to like tougher plant material they're actually going after, and of course they probably did use their claws to grab hold of like certain types of prey items. Because in the stomach contents of Deinocheirus skeletons that have been found, they have found that there are like fish scales in their stomach. And even like some small animals that were in there. So like say maybe like small reptiles, small mammals, maybe small amphibians, even fish. But they're mostly going to be herbivorous animals, so they'll eat plants most of the time. But they'll eat anything they'll eat some small items to actually have their protein. So these animals were omnivorous, but they were going to more likely stick with herbivory. But when they do need like protein, they will actually like probably eat some fish. They'll eat small reptiles. They'll eat small amphibians, and even some fish. That's more likely what they're going to be doing. And they probably can use those claws to scrape off some bark off of a tree, to actually get like some bark in their mouths to chew on, or swallow, and certain stuff. That's probably more likely the case. Whereas Therizinosaur claws, they're much thinner, and so they're more going to be using them to grab hold of like smaller branches on trees to actually get to the leaves that they need to eat, even though they do have a long neck and small head to be able to get to those leaves. But they will use those claws the giant ground sloths did, was that they like scooped some, or raked, so to speak, some small branches towards them so they can eat the leaves. Whereas Deinocheirus was probably like grabbing hold of thicker branches and probably like eating a little bit much tougher material to actually eat. So tougher plant material. That's more likely what they were using them for. How come the teeth of Majungasaurus can penetrate bones? Well, they're not necessarily penetrating bones. Penetrating bones means they're going through them. Tyrannosaurs do that. Most large Tyrannosaurus, like say Daspletosaurus, um, Tarbosaurus, Zooxantheranus, and Tyrannosaurus, and occasionally Albertosaurus, Albertosaurus and Gorgosaurus can actually penetrate through bone because they have strong bite forces and stronger teeth. Majungasaurus, on the other hand, is an Abelisaur. And Abelisaurs, they do have strong bites, but they're not as strong compared to the Tyrannosaurs. So their skulls are robust. They are robust enough to be able to make powerful bites. It's just that they're not crushing bone. They're more likely scratching bone than anything else with their teeth. And so Majungasaurus has some of the larger teeth compared to other Abelisaurs. So that means they were using their like strong bites, because Majungasaurus, when you look at its skull, it's a little bit wider than other Abelisaurs, and it's uh, somewhat larger. And you also see that you see the muscle attachments on the skull and even on the jaws, suggesting it had a much stronger bite compared to other Abelisaurs. So when we look at Carnotaurus, its jaw is much thinner than its mandible, or lower jaw is actually thinner compared to Majungasaurus. And Majungasaurus would have a much stronger bite. And we see like bite marks on bones of Majungasaurus, like on Majungasaurus bones, and even some prey items that it actually was around at that time, around 70 million years ago in Madagascar. So that's more likely the case, is that they are biting much harder, but they are not penetrating bone. They're just scratching it. Because if it was penetrating bone, it's going through it. And from what I know about Majungasaurus teeth, they are not designed like Tyrannosaur teeth. They are not. They're more thin and knife-like type of teeth, but they're stronger type of teeth, knife-like teeth. So that's because they're able to use those teeth to make much more devastating bites compared to like some of the other like types of Abelisaurs around that time. Was that they were more likely kind of shaking the prey a little bit more to make like much deeper slashing bites, whereas like Tyrannosaurs are designed for crushing. They're designed for crushing, and so other Abelisaurs were just basically like biting and trying to hang on to the prey a little bit, but they weren't doing things what Majungasaurus was doing, and Majungasaurus had a much stronger bite compared to other Abelisaurs. But yeah, that's what Majungasaurus teeth were doing to bone, was scratching it, not necessarily penetrating it. Are some of the scratches deeper? Yes, but that does not mean it's penetrating the bone. It's not going through it. Because if a Majungasaurus tried to bite through, like say, any type of bone of an animal in its environment, it's going to break its teeth. It's going to break its teeth very easily. And your last question, and why do paleontologists believe that Giganotosaurus weighs 2 tons more than Tyrannosaurus? That is old information now. That is old. That is no longer the case anymore. Like back then in the early 2000s to the mid 2000s, even parts of the late 2000s, that's what it was actually believed, is that Giganotosaurus was longer, it was taller than T-Rex. So they believe that, like, okay, that means that that Giganotosaurus is heavier as well, because that's what they believe. And so believing that it's 2 tons heavier, so 4,000 pounds heavier than a T-Rex, like that was the case. But now with more advanced technology and better measurements of the skeletons and showcasing like the body types of these animals, Tyrannosaurus Rex is way heavier than Giganotosaurus. Like Giganotosaurus has a weight of say between uh, around say between 15,000 pounds to uh, 17,000 pounds, whereas Tyrannosaurus Rex is got a weight estimate between 17,000 pounds and close to 20,000 pounds. So that's way different compared to that, and so now it's completely different now because Tyrannosaurus Rex is more bulky compared to Giganotosaurus. Giganotosaurus is lightly built compared to Tyrannosaurus Rex. So, like, Giganotosaurus might be faster in terms of like speed wise, like in terms of running, whereas Tyrannosaurus Rex is much stronger. Tyrannosaurus Rex is heavier, bulkier, stronger. And when you're heavier, bulkier, and stronger, you're designed to go in after prey that is like really armored and tough and heavily muscled. Whereas Giganotosaurus did not have to worry about that too much because what it was going after was titanosaurs and some other types of sauropods, and even some iguanodontid type of animals as well. Because it's not going after things that were like really heavily armored. They were going after things that were like as large or larger than them. And that's what they were doing, is because they have the knife-like teeth. Whereas Tyrannosaurus Rex, they are more likely going after things that were as big as them or smaller than them. And also those things that were as big as them and smaller than them, they were armored and also heavily muscled. That's what they were doing and what they were going up against. And it's when you go look at the predator-prey relationship of these two animals are completely different. Completely different. And so Tyrannosaurus Rex stands alone right now as the largest meat-eating dinosaur that has lived on Earth so far. In terms of weight, Giganotosaurus would actually be the tallest theropod dinosaur that we know of, and Spinosaurus is the longest theropod dinosaur that we know of. So that's what we actually have to look at this, is that a lot of people assume that length and height would determine like who's the largest, but nope, that's not how scientists actually view that. Biologists usually go by weight. That's why elephants are the largest land animals, because they're the heaviest animal on land. And so there you go. There's your answer. And then Alex, your question: why is Eoraptor considered an early sauropodomorph when Eoraptor had teeth of theropod dinosaurs? It's mainly, I think, it's due to like what the animal was actually doing, and also like the structure of the skeleton as well. When we look at Herrerasaurus, it's a larger animal, and also it's got larger teeth and a bigger skull, and was more designed for capturing like prey that was actually as big or a little bit smaller than them. Whereas Eoraptor was still had those theropod looking teeth, but their teeth were designed to be multi-purpose. So they're designed to be multi-purpose in terms of like they eat carnivorous, like they can be carnivorous when they needed to be, like capturing insects, small reptiles, and some amphibians, and they can still eat plant, and they can also eat plants. So their teeth are kind of designed that way. Not totally like troodontid teeth, but they're like kind of close, kind of close. But yeah, but also like when you look at the neck of Eoraptor, it has has similarities to the sauropods in certain ways. And when you look at Herrerasaurus, it's got a lot of theropod like in it. It's got a lot of theropod like theropod things in it in terms of the skeleton. So bipedal stance, and of course the large claws on its hands, and of course the large skull and large teeth. Whereas like Eoraptor's got a smaller skull, even though it's still a biped, it can actually still be. It's more of an omnivorous animal than anything else, but it would probably more likely be a carnivorous animal in certain ways than say plants. So I'd probably say that Eoraptor probably did mostly ate a lot of protein, but it will eat vegetation when it needed to. Like when food is scarce, like there's not much like protein around, you go for the next thing, which is plants. That's what omnivores do. And so I would more likely say it's designed to the teeth. It's more how the teeth are designed. And I think there might have been a Eoraptor skeleton that was somewhat complete, or like mostly complete, that did have some stomach contents that were actually found in there. I'm not totally sure, but I think there is one that did have stomach contents in it, and then it did show that like it had like some small bones of a reptile and some insect bits, and it probably also had some plant material in it too, and so that showcases that it does belong into the line of the sauropodomorph lineage than say the theropod lineage. But even though that sauropods and theropods do share a common ancestor, they do share a common ancestor because they do have, they both of them have hollow bones. They have the multiple air sacs for lungs, that sort of thing. But theropods actually had a little bit more bird features than sauropods did. But that's all the questions I got for you today. Next week will be the extra episode of Primitive War, the movie. So that I will be checking out that movie this weekend. So that way I give you a good, honest review about this movie. What do I think of it compared to the book? Because if you have not checked that review out, I did review Primitive War Volume 1, the book. That book review, so you can go and check it out. Check it out in the extra episodes playlist, and you can actually uh, look at my review of the book and showing my honest review about it. And you know what? I think the book is really, really good. I thought it was really, really good, and all that sorts of stuff. But let's see how this movie compares to the first novel. And I know there's like 3 other novels of Primitive War I still have to get, but I will check those out when I get the chance. And so, yeah, so the Primitive War movie review will be next week for the extra episode. So stay tuned for that. And you can still send me questions about dinosaurs and other prehistoric life by emailing me at dinochris71@gmail.com, or go to my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts at DinoChris. Like the page, yes, you post your questions in the comment section. Please put them in the comment section. Don't put them on Messenger messages or private conversations. So please put your questions in the comment section on any Facebook post. And also for YouTubers out there, like the video, subscribe to the channel. According to my analytics, so a lot of you guys are checking out my channel, not subscribed yet. So please feel free to hit the like button, because that's how the YouTube algorithm works. The more likes the video gets, the more likely the video gets spread out to people that are interested in dinosaurs, prehistoric life, paleontology, and geology in general. So please feel free to do so. And also share the video, share the channel to anybody that is interested in dinosaurs, prehistoric life, paleontology, and geology in general. So please feel free to do so. And you can also hit the notification bell so that you can get weekly notifications of every video that comes out. And also you can go into the posts tab on my channel, and you'll see that I post like updates on like videos, news on paleontology, mainly in the dinosaur realm, and of course you also see some polls in the post tab, and I post polls every 3 days on the channel, so that way you guys can interact and check out the poll questions and interact with each other that way. And I like to see your honest opinions about them, and that's awesome. And you guys are doing a great job with this, and so yeah, make sure to check out the post tab on my channel. And also, for you YouTubers out there, leave your questions in the comment section, because I do read them all. All of you guys sending me questions via email, Facebook, and YouTube. You guys are awesome. You give me amazing great questions for these Q&A episodes. It means a lot, and so keep up with the great work. And also make sure you keep your questions short and to the point. You can also follow me on Instagram at dino.chris.pf. I post pretty cool stuff on there. You can also follow me on Threads, same thing, at dino.chris.pf. I post pretty cool stuff on there as well. Also, take care of the people around you. Also, for your people out there, and it makes you listen, your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. It's the best motivation you can have for a good education. It's very important to have a good education. So with a good education, you get a good job in the future. That's it for now, and I'll see you guys next time.